Former President Donald Trump is facing a host of criminal charges, and some states are actually trying to disqualify him from their ballots for the Republican presidential primaries. But that did not stop him securing a record-breaking win in the Iowa caucuses last week, taking over 50% of the vote to remain firmly on course to win the Republican nomination for the third time in a row. So is Trump on course to beat Joe Biden and reclaim the presidency? And what would that mean for America? Here to discuss this, I'm joined by Erol Morkoc, the chief strategist for the Republicans overseas, and Robert Weiner, a Democratic strategist and former spokesperson for the Clinton and Bush administrations. Robert, can I come to you first? How do you feel about Trump's huge success in the Iowa caucuses?
It's so blown out of all proportion, Andrew. And thank you for having me again. It's been since April since we last talked. So good to see you. And hello to the audience. I saw a picture of your audience. So it's blown out of all proportion. You got 50% of the vote. Half of the people in Iowa, half of the Republicans in Iowa voted against him. And 31% of the entrance poll said that they would not vote for someone who was convicted in a felony. So what's he got? We got a lot to work with. And you take the fact that the lagging indicators of the economy, Biden stopped a recession. He stopped a recession that everyone said was going to come. And and you have all these judges that are going to do excoriating rulings and the juries about Trump very shortly in the Eugene Carroll case and the business case for starters, let alone the Filegate and the rigging of elections. When those judges' rulings come down, it's going to be like the January 6th hearings that dropped Trump 10 points in the polls. So I'm telling my Democratic colleagues, don't panic. The best is yet to be.
Well, Errol, what do you think about that? Are we reading too much into this Iowa win?
To some degree, Iowa is not the bellwether that it used to be, demographic-wise. But, you know, as much as I respect what Robert's saying, obviously he has to spin what was a very positive event for Mr. Trump into a negative light. Let's keep in mind, this is the largest margin of victory for a non-incumbent. Donald Trump is not the incumbent presidency. We don't have an oligarchic system where we just anoint people. We had a proper primary. And just some breaking news, by the way, Ron DeSantis just dropped out of the primaries. Just now, within the last 5 minutes. And so that's what that was. That was a referendum on his consolidation of power in the Republican Party. Now, granted, DeSantis did well with 21%. Nikki Haley came in a third with 19%. They didn't vote against Trump as much as some people obviously have anti-Trump sentiments. There was a lot of ballots changing at the polling stations. I think one county went for Mrs. Haley. So Donald Trump, you know, he galvanized the base. He did about $10 million of ad spend without being on the ground as much as the other candidates because he's been dealing with these scurrilous, you know, frivolous trials around the country. And so despite all of that, he came in, proved his point, did exactly what he said he was going to do. And
Robert,
walked away with the victory.
Can I come to you on this, Robert? Because it does. A lot of people have argued that every time people attack Trump, you know, when they try to take him off the ballot, for instance, that actually that does wonders for his message. And his message is, they're all out to get me. The deep state is going to resort to anything to get rid of me. Doesn't that these kind of tactics just confirm that?
Well, no, because the judges haven't spoken. And of course, Trump is going to say that. I would like to know which part of what I said that was fact Errol says is spin.
Well, that's an interesting question. I'll put it straight to Errol. Which part of what Robert said is spin?
The spin was insinuating simply that the Republican Party is not behind Donald Trump and that 50% of our party voted against him. In a primary, we have different opinions, but once we pick our candidate, the idea that those people are not Trump people is spin. Make it an easy answer.
Okay, well, those were big words, but they didn't answer my question, so thank you for forwarding the question, Andrew.
Okay, Robert, can I ask you specifically about the question of Ron DeSantis dropping out? You know, right. I would have thought that this would be something that Democrats would be particularly happy about, because I don't imagine, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't imagine that a contest directly between Biden and DeSantis, that I don't think Biden would come off well there. Would you agree?
Well, I think with DeSantis, he did so much silly, like book bans and Disney bans and a short abortion term that the Republicans lose 10 points every time they got the abortion issue. So he had a lot going against him. Haley is a bigger challenge, to be honest.
But do you have any concerns about Biden? I mean, a lot of people in the Democrat Party don't think he should run again. They certainly don't want Kamala Harris to run again. Do you have any concerns whatsoever?
Biden has been so undersold, Andrew. I met him back in when we were both in our 20s, and he had me come to his house after I organized a youth vote for him for the Democratic National Committee. We've been friends forever. He has been known for making gaffes. He's been known for speaking too long. So was Bill Clinton. Then he got elected president. So Biden is being Biden, and they're calling it age. What he did to the Republicans in the State of the Union and boxed them in against cuts in Social Security, what he did with the press, what he did in his democracy speech just a week ago. He is phenomenal on these issues, and it's pure ageism, and age is just a number. And when it's a choice between Trump and Biden, and Trump is the egotist, he's the narcissist, he's the pro-Russian with charging 3 times as much to the Russians and getting the money for his condos in Florida and all that, and the Trump towers, all the things that Trump did, and the rigging of the elections, find me 11,780 votes. When all that comes out again, and when it'll be, as I said, like the January 6th hearing, which dropped Trump 10 points in the polls when the facts, the evidence, and the people come out.
And finally, Erol, I'm just going to give you the last word there. What's your prediction for how this is all going to go?
Well, this is going to go exactly as the Donald Trump story always goes. It's the rise, it's the fall, it's the redemption. He's a Teflon Don. He's going to cruise through this primary. He's going to get to the general election. And the real question is Joe Biden going to get there? If he actually is dragged there by his handlers and his wife and somehow is actually the candidate, Donald Trump will be our president. But that doesn't mean that I believe that Joe Biden is going to be the ultimate president. He's out of his depth internationally. He's out of his depth domestically. He's polling worse than ever. The American people are seeing the complete failure economically and socially in this country, and they yearn for the economic and political and social success of a Donald Trump presidency. So we're excited to see that.
Look, thank you both for coming on. Robert, I'm so sorry we are out of time, but listen, I will definitely want you both back on because this is an absolutely fascinating discussion.